2018 NFL Draft is officially over, so that's why today I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts and opinions on what happened during the 2018 NFL Draft, all 7 rounds. I'll even have some key undrafted free agent signings I think that could potentially help whatever team they decided to sign with. As I said, all 7 rounds. I was on Periscope Live on Thursday giving you my live reaction, so if you tuned in, thanks. I said in my wrestling video, this video here for recapping the 2018 NFL Draft will probably be my last football video until I give my 2018 college and NFL previews, which won't be until the middle of August. But I'll have WWE videos. If there's any events that I attend, I get videos of that. I'll put it out here on YouTube as well. And then wrestling videos, obviously. There's a lot of WWE pay-per-views coming up. Be sure to go check Backlash predictions out. But I'll be live on Periscope for WWE pay-per-views as well, so you'll get to see me there. But this will probably be the last football video until I give my 2018 previews for both college and the NFL. So if that makes you sad, I'm sorry, but there's really nothing to talk about over the summer for football other than talking about the upcoming season. And I'll be doing that in my preview videos, so stay tuned for those towards the end of summer, a couple weeks before the season starts. It's hard to believe summer is on its way. Today is May the 2nd. The draft was this past weekend, April 26th to 28th, down in Arlington, Texas at Cowboy Stadium. The first round was on Thursday. Rounds 2 through 3 were on Friday, and 4 through 7 were on Saturday. As I said, if you caught me on Periscope on Thursday, I was live giving you my live reactions to the first round. I'm going to recap the first round here real quick. But before I do that, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe if you haven't done so. All links are down in the description below. So be sure to scroll down and go to whatever social media site, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. There's Periscope on there as well. As I said, I'll be live on Periscope for basically every WWE pay-per-view. Come football season, I'll be on Periscope as well for some games. At this time, I'm thinking I'll do at least one college game a week. If I don't do college though, I'll have at least one NFL game that week. If I decide to do one college, one NFL one week, then so be it. That's what I'll do. But obviously, I won't actually be showing the game. I know probably some of you misunderstood what was posted on social media, published on all social media sites. I'm only going to be giving you my live reactions. You'll get to see me how you see me in these videos here on YouTube. You won't actually get to see the game. You'll get to see my live reactions of what I think about each respective event that I will be on Periscope for. But so I was on Periscope last week for the first round, only the first round of the draft. I was on Periscope last Friday as well for the Greatest Royal Rumble event. So if you caught that, if you tuned in for that, thank you as well. But the first round was on Thursday. The Cleveland Browns were on the clock. They had the number 1 overall pick after going 0-16 last year. We all knew they were going to take a quarterback. What quarterback was it going to be, though? They ended up taking quarterback Baker Mayfield from Oklahoma. Surprised a lot of people, especially some Browns fans that were there in attendance that the cameras were focused on. They really didn't understand why the hell the Browns just chose Baker Mayfield from Oklahoma. But they did. Will he be the next sucky quarterback for the Cleveland Browns and put his name on that list of quarterbacks that have not succeeded? Or will Baker Mayfield be the quarterback who turns the Cleveland Browns around? I really don't know. I don't think he should start at all this year unless Tyrod Taylor gets hurt. Tyrod Taylor got traded from Buffalo to Cleveland in the offseason this year. I think he should play all year, as I said, unless he gets hurt, and Mayfield will come in. They also have Drew Stanton on their roster. They signed from Arizona. He's turning into the next Josh McCown. He has been a long-time backup in the league. Um, maybe they play him. You know, is Baker ready? He should be. Hell, he was the first pick, but with what the Browns have already, I think it'd be best for him to sit out a year, redshirt as they would in college. He knows what sitting out feels like. He had to sit out when he went to Texas Tech. He then transferred, so he had to sit out another year when he went to Oklahoma because he wasn't playing a whole lot at Texas Tech. He did play some, not a lot, so then he transferred to Oklahoma, sat out, and then he turned into maybe the best Oklahoma quarterback in Oklahoma Sooner football history. Won a Heisman Trophy as well. But the Browns took Baker Mayfield #1 overall, but I think he should sit out a year. You have Tyrod Taylor who can, you know, lead the ship for now, but eventually I think the torch will be passed down to Baker Mayfield. As I said, will he be the next quarterback on that long list of sucky-ass quarterbacks in Cleveland that have not succeeded, or will he be the one to turn things around? Only time's going to tell. The New York Football Giants selected Saquon Barkley from Penn State, running back from Penn State, maybe the greatest running back in Penn State history, at #2. They already have Eli Manning at quarterback. They haven't had a good running back since Tiki Barber, in my opinion. They also have Odell Beckham Jr. at wide receiver, Evan Ingram at tight end. They got Nate Solder in free agency at left tackle from the New England Patriots. They drafted Eric Flowers a couple years ago out of Miami, the Miami Hurricanes, in the first round back in 2015. If they can get the interior of the line situated, be able to run the ball 25 to 30 times a game with Barkley, get the defense figured out a little bit. I think right now the Giants will be winning the NFC East next year. That could change for me, though, from this point in time until I do my previews. So we'll have to see. There's that couple month gap in between, so I could change my mind, but I think right now, the favorite to win the NFC East, and I'm not saying the Cowboys or Eagles aren't going to make the playoffs as a wild card. Hell, last year, 3 teams from the NFC South made the playoffs. The Saints won the division. They won the NFC South, and the Falcons and the Panthers both made it as wild cards. So the Redskins, I think they're out of it. No question about it. Yes, they did get Alex Smith from Kansas City after losing Kirk Cousins to Minnesota in free agency, but they have a lot of other holes to fill throughout the whole roster. So there's still potential that both the Eagles and the Cowboys can make the playoffs as wild cards. I'm not saying they won't, but I think the Giants will be winning the NFC East at this point in time. They had a great draft. They drafted Kyle Lauletta in the third round, quarterback from Richmond. I really didn't know a whole lot about him going into the draft. I did watch. I believe he was in the Senior Bowl a couple months ago. I watched him there on TV. Obviously, it wasn't down in Mobile, Alabama, but he had a strong showing. He was invited to the NFL Combine as well, so I saw him at the Combine. Obviously on TV as well. I was in Indianapolis, but I think he could be the heir apparent to Eli Manning in the next couple years. 2 of the 3, the Chargers did not take a quarterback. They signed Geno Smith in free agency, but 2 of the 3 teams from the 2004 draft that drafted quarterbacks. The Giants took Eli Manning, the Steelers took Ben Roethlisberger, and the Chargers took Phillip Rivers. 2 of those took quarterbacks this year in the draft. The Giants took Kyle Lauletta, and the Steelers took Mason Rudolph. So we'll have to see in time if those two quarterbacks can take over the reins for their respective teams and lead their team into the future. But I think the Giants had a great draft. Drafted Will Hernandez to block. As I said, if they can get that interior offensive line figured out, they're going to plug Will Hernandez in there at either right or left guard. I think Saquon Barkley will have a great year this year and potentially could win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Not saying Rookie of the Year, I'd say offensive. It's hard to tell what's going to happen on the defensive side. But I think he'll have a good year. I think the Giants will have a better year, obviously, than last year. Hell, I said I think they'll win the NFC East, so they better have a better year than last year. Hell, they went, I believe, 2-14, or no, they went 3-13 last year. But anyways, they took Saquon Barkley at 2. The Jets and the other New York team, right across the river, they took a quarterback in Sam Darnold from USC. I think the Browns were getting worried that the Jets were going to take Baker Mayfield at 3, so the Browns took him at 1. The Jets got stuck with Sam Darnold. They didn't get stuck with him, I should say. I shouldn't say that. They had their choice because there were still some other quarterbacks out there. And they also have Josh McCown, Teddy Bridgewater, Christian Hackenberg, and Bryce Petty on their roster. The latter of those four, Hackenberg and Petty, more than likely probably won't be on the roster. Petty especially, they'd probably put Hack on the practice squad, but who the hell knows what the Jets are going to do. But they took Sam Darnold. You know, is he the next Joe Namath? Who knows? A lot of people were saying a couple years ago when they took Hackenberg out of Penn State, he could potentially be the next Joe Namath, but he hasn't even played it down in the regular season for the Jets. So I think you should move on from him. Depending on how Bridgewater does this year, maybe re-sign him, and then give Darnold a couple years ago. Maybe we're in a situation with what happened with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. I think we'll see that with the Giants and the Steelers as well, with Eli Manning, Kyle Ouellette, and Ben Roethlisberger and Mason Rudolph, who they drafted out of Oklahoma State. And then, you know, look at Aaron Rodgers now. He's turned into one of the best in NFL history. But the Jets took Sam Darnold. McCown, he's on his last limb. Should be his last year. Petty is average. And like I said, Hackenberg hasn't even played in the regular season. He's played in preseason, but they haven't given him a chance. So I think you should probably move on from those latter two. Maybe you keep Hack, get rid of Petty, and then your 3 quarterbacks then next year are Sam Darnold, Teddy Bridgewater, and Christian Hackenberg. But we'll have to see what the Jets decide to do, because as I said, who the hell knows what the New York Jets are going to do. The Browns took Denzel Ward, cornerback out of Ohio State, at 4. The Browns had the 1st and 4th pick. First was theirs because they finished 0-16 last year. The 4th was from Houston because Houston traded up and drafted Deshaun Watson last year in the draft. They passed on Bradley Chubb, who they could have teamed up with Myles Garrett on the defensive line. But then the Denver Broncos, who were picking at number 5, picked Bradley Chubb, defensive end out of NC State. So now we could have had a Myles Garrett, Bradley Chubb defensive line on the ends, but now we have a Von Miller, Bradley Chubb situation with the Denver Broncos on the defensive line at both defensive end spots. Von Miller obviously can play outside linebacker as well. Chubb can as well. So the Broncos, I thought as well had a great draft. They took a couple wide receivers in Cortland Sutton and Deshaun Hamilton from SMU and Penn State respectively. They're trying to get after the quarterback. They're trying to help out their own quarterback in Case Keenum. Maybe Paxton Lynch, if he can figure out how to play in the NFL. I think John Elway still believes in him. That's why he didn't take a quarterback here at 5. Didn't take a quarterback at all in the draft. But they took Bradley Chubb at 5. The Denver Broncos did. Number 6 was the Indianapolis Colts pick after they traded back with the Jets and got 3 second-round picks in return. They drafted Quentin Nelson, guard out of Notre Dame. Stays home in Indiana from Notre Dame. If Andrew Luck can get back to playing 100%, be healthy all year long. Hell, as I said a couple weeks ago, they were in the AFC Championship game a couple years ago playing the Patriots. They got him some protection here in Quentin Nelson. They have Marlon Mack, coming back from last year. I believe they drafted another running back in this year's draft. I'll get to that here in a minute, going down through the 2018 NFL draft results. The Bills then traded up from number 12 to 7 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs ended up taking Vita Vea, defensive tackle, from Washington at 12. A lot of people were surprised they did that, but then later on in the draft, they took a couple secondary players to play at corner and safety to help out in the secondary, which they so desperately needed last year. The reason why they finished last in the NFC South. And the other 3 teams won against the Buccaneers, I believe, every game, and that's why all the other 3 teams made the playoffs, 2 as the wild cards, obviously. But then the Bills drafted Josh Allen, quarterback from Wyoming, at number 7. Allen played at Wyoming, knows what Wyoming weather's like. Buffalo weather is a lot like Wyoming weather, especially during football season. So he'll be able to throw that football 80 yards down the field during this upcoming season. Will he start week 1? Potentially. Out of the 4 quarterbacks drafted in the top 10, which was a NFL draft record, we saw some history made during the draft this year, along with some other things as well. Josh Rosen was the other quarterback. He went number 10 to the Arizona Cardinals. They traded up from 15 to 10 with the Oakland Raiders, so the Raiders chose at 15, and they then chose offensive tackle Colt Miller from UCLA. But out of the 4 quarterbacks drafted in the top 10, I think Allen has the best option, best chance to start, because you look at the Browns, as I said, they already have Tyrod Taylor. They have Drew Stanton as well, backing him up. So Baker, and right now he's sitting number 3 on that depth chart. Rookie minicamp will be starting here, and then we'll have some OTAs as well, and then training camp's going to be starting at the end of July like it normally does. The Jets, they have Josh McCown and Teddy Bridgewater and Hackenberg and Petty already, so they have a loaded quarterback room. Sam Darnold, he'll probably be sitting at number either at 2 or 3, depends on what they want to do with Josh McCown. They just re-signed him to a 1-year deal, but like I said, he's on his last limb. But Bridgewater and McCown should start, in my opinion, over Darnold. The Bills, though, I mean, the Cardinals, they have, talking about Josh Rosen going number 10 to the Cardinals, they have Sam Bradford on a 1-year deal, and Mike Glennon, who they signed as well in free agency, who, as I said, is just going to be a backup quarterback in the NFL. So Bradford, he's played well, every place he's been, with the Rams, the Eagles, the Vikings, and now potentially could be good with the Cardinals. But the Bills, they only have A.J. McCarron, who they signed in free agency from Cincinnati, who played decent in some games with the Bengals in his short career so far, coming out of Alabama a couple years ago. But then they also have Nathan Peterman, who they drafted last year out of Pitt, who in his first game last year in the NFL threw 5 interceptions against the Los Angeles Chargers. So I don't know if you'd want, either of those guys starting week 1. Maybe McCarron starts week 1, and then second half or second quarter even, Josh Allen comes in and just takes over, and the Josh Allen era begins in Buffalo. But we'll have to see what happens with the Bills. But they took Josh Allen, number 7 overall, out of Wyoming. The Bears took Roquan Smith, linebacker, out of Georgia, at 8. The 49ers took Mike McGlinchey, tackle, out of Notre Dame, at 9. So 2 Notre Dame offensive linemen go in the top 10 as well. They only had 1 offensive lineman go in the first round since 1995, and that was 2 years ago. Cardinals took Josh Rosen at 10 out of UCLA, quarterback out of UCLA. The Dolphins took Minkah Fitzpatrick at 11, defensive back out of Alabama. The Bucs could have took him at 12. I think they probably would have if he was there, but he wasn't, because the Dolphins took him 1 pick before that. So then the Bucs took Vita Vea, defensive tackle out of Washington, as I said, and then they got some picks in return from Buffalo as well, and then helped out with the secondary, taking some corners and safeties in the mid rounds. The Redskins then took Deron Payne, defensive lineman out of Alabama. 2 years in a row in the first round, the Redskins have taken defensive lineman out of Alabama. Last year's Deron Reed, this year Deron Payne. The Saints then, they traded up from number 27 with the Green Bay Packers, and they selected Marcus Davenport out of University of Texas, San Antonio. A lot of people were surprised about this. Whenever this was happening, I was live on Periscope. There's a lot of talk about, did the Saints just trade up to take Teddy Bridgewater? Or, excuse me, not Teddy Bridgewater, Lamar Jackson, another former Louisville Cardinal quarterback. But did they just trade up to get Lamar Jackson? They did not. They took Marcus Davenport. I'm, in the middle on this pick. I really don't know what to think about it. They obviously like him a lot because they gave up a first-round pick next year. So the Saints at this moment do not have a first-round pick next year. That can obviously change though, in trading some players, whether before the season starts, during the season, or during next off season. But the Saints took Marcus Davenport at 14 after trading up from 27, and then at 27, the Packers had that Saints pick, but then the Packers traded it to the Seattle Seahawks at 27, and the Seattle Seahawks the Seahawks selected Rashad Penny, a running back out of San Diego State, who I think in a lot of people's opinions was a mid-round draft pick, but they take him at the end of the first round. He backed up Donnell Pumphrey for a couple years out in San Diego at San Diego State, and Pumphrey, he's now with the Eagles, obviously signed. He was drafted, I believe, in the 4th round last year, but they took him at 27. The Seahawks did, because the Seahawks traded back from 18 with the Packers. So then the Seahawks got the Saints pick at 27, which was now the Packers, but then the Packers traded up to 18, right in front of the Dallas Cowboys at 19, and the Packers selected Jair Alexander, cornerback out of Louisville. I'll get to that here in a minute. They said the Raiders were supposed to pick at 10. They traded back with the Cardinals, picked at 15 then. They took Colton Miller, tackle out of UCLA, so he goes from LA to the Bay Area. The 16th overall pick was the Buffalo Bills. They originally had the 12th and 22nd pick, but then they traded. I'm trying to think how the Bills got up to 16 as well. I'm trying to think who had 16. Let me look here real quick. I'm trying to think who had the 16th overall pick, because then the Bills traded. So then they drafted Josh Allen, as I said, at 7. So they ended up going defense with this pick. They took Tremaine Edmonds, linebacker out of Virginia Tech. His brother also went in the first round. Oh, the Baltimore Ravens had the 16th overall pick. Excuse me for not remembering that. But then the Ravens traded back to 25. Just trying to think, because on my list here, I don't have it who they traded back with, but my mock draft last week I obviously did, but really doesn't matter. But the Bills selected Tremaine Edmonds, linebacker out of Virginia Tech. His brother ended up going late in the first round of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Terrell Edmonds at the number 28 spot, and he's a safety, also out of Virginia Tech. So as I said, history was made in the top 10 picks with 4 quarterbacks being chosen. This is the first time ever 2 brothers were drafted in the first round during the same draft, the same year. So Tremaine Edmonds goes to Buffalo at 16, so they go offense and defense with their 2 picks in the first round. The Los Angeles Chargers then took Derwin James, safety out of Florida State, at 17. Jair Alexander, as I said, went to Green Bay at 18. I like what the Packers did as well. In the secondary, they helped out the secondary. They took Jair Alexander in the first round, took Josh Jackson in the second round out of Iowa. Maybe the best Iowa corner to ever come out of Iowa City. And then the Cowboys at 19 took Leighton Vander Esch from Boise State, linebacker out of Boise State. A lot of Cowboys fans were disappointed in this pick. Reports were that a lot of them left during the pick, after the pick was made, because they knew they weren't going to do anything else during the first round. This is at the first round, and only the first round were on Thursday night, but they took Leighton Vander Esch at 19. A lot of people were hoping they'd go wide receiver. They did go wide receiver later in the draft, took Michael Gallup, wide receiver out of Colorado State, to come in and potentially replace Des Bryant, but a lot of Cowboys fans were hoping and thinking that Dallas is going to take a wide receiver here at 19 to come in and immediately play at Des Bryant's position. But they did not. They took Leighton Vander Esch, linebacker out of Boise State. The first center then was taken off the board at 20. The Lions took Frank Ragnow out of Arkansas. He's a big hog, formerly recruited by Brett Bielema at Arkansas. Bielema's obviously not there now. He reportedly working with New England Patriots, whether as a scout or whatever, don't really know, because there's really hasn't been any announcement about him working with the Patriots. The only reason I say that is because there was a picture out there floating around on social media, him wearing Patriots gear during, I believe it was USC's Pro Day back at the end of March, early April. And then, speaking of centers, as I said, first center went off the board at 20. The next center went off the board at 21. The Bengals, both NFL teams in the state of Ohio, the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals, took Ohio State Buckeyes in the first round. Obviously, the Browns had 2 picks. They took Baker Mayfield at number 1 overall as well out of Oklahoma, who defeated Ohio State in Columbus at the Shoe back week 2 of last year during college football season. But the Bengals took center Billy Price out of Ohio State. So two former Buckeyes stay in the state of Ohio and will be playing for the Browns and Bengals respectively. The Bengals also took Sam Hubbard, I believe. Yeah, they took Sam Hubbard in the 3rd round. I believe it was the 77th pick. Yeah, the 77th pick the Bengals took defensive end Sam Hubbard out of Ohio State. So 2 former Buckeyes now going to the Cincinnati Bengals. So 3 former Buckeyes going to the Cleveland Browns and Cincinnati Bengals respectively, as I said. The Tennessee Titans then traded up from number 26 to 22, and they took, or 25 to 22, and took Rashawn Evans, linebacker out of Alabama, who I predicted would go to Tennessee at 25, though, but they traded up and got him at 22. Mike Vrabel was probably thinking his former boss, former coach, was going to pick him at 23, as the Patriots had the 23rd overall pick, and they took Isaiah Wynn, tackle out of Georgia. The Patriots also took another Georgia Bulldog in the first round. They took running back Sonny Michel at number 31. So the Patriots go two former Georgia Bulldogs in the first round. The Titans take Rashawn Evans out of Alabama at number 22 to help out on that Tennessee Titan defense, the front 7 that is going to have to get after Deshaun Watson, Blake Bortles, and Andrew Luck if he's healthy in the AFC South. The 24th overall pick belonged to the Carolina Panthers, and they chose wide receiver DJ Moore. DJ Moore was the first wide receiver taken. Surprised it was this late in the first round, but we've seen no running backs go in the first round before. The first running back taken a couple years ago was in the middle of the 2nd round. So this really isn't anything special. But the Panthers took DJ Moore out of Maryland. Hayden Hurst then went to Baltimore at 25. They, I believe, took 2 tight ends, looking at my notes. The Ravens, that is. Hayden Hurst played Major League Baseball, played in the minors. He was in the Pittsburgh Pirates system. Never really made it through the minors to get to the big leagues. So then he decided to play football, walked on at South Carolina, played defensive end, played defensive line, and then they switched him to tight end, and now he's a first-round pick in the NFL. So Hayden Hurst goes from Pittsburgh, where he played baseball in the minors, to South Carolina, and now he's going to be playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, arch rival, the Baltimore Ravens. So the Ravens, it looks like they have their next great tight end. The Falcons then chose Calvin Ridley, wide receiver out of Alabama at 26. They got 2 former Alabama Crimson Tide wide receivers now on the roster, Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. Should be another great weapon for Matt Ryan. I don't know if Julio Jones's numbers will be going down at all with the addition of Calvin Ridley, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see how the season goes. But Calvin Ridley, he's played well in Atlanta, whether it be at the Georgia Dome or the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Alabama, it seems like every year they're playing at least one game in Atlanta. The past couple years, he's done well in the Peach State. As I said, at number 27, the Seahawks took Rashard Penny, running back out of San Diego State. Steelers at 28 took Terrell Edmonds, safety out of Virginia Tech. The Jaguars then at 29 took Taven Byron, defensive tackle out of Florida. Mike Hughes, cornerback from Central Florida, went to the Minnesota Vikings at number 30. Said as well, Sony Michel went to New England as the Patriots took two Georgia Bulldogs in the first round. And then the Baltimore Ravens traded up with the Philadelphia Eagles at number 32 and drafted Lamar Jackson, quarterback from Louisville. Why they drafted Lamar Jackson, I really don't know. I think Joe Flacco is still a decent quarterback. Hell, he's won you guys a Super Bowl. I know that was a couple years ago, but still. I know you guys haven't been to the playoffs in a couple years as well, but still, you're on the edge. You're on the edge. You just need to. If they would have traded up and took somebody else to help out, that would have been able to play right away, potentially, help out the team to win more games, rather than draft Lamar Jackson, who he'll probably play some this season, his rookie year coming up. They'll probably put him in some packages, but if I were Joe Flacco, I'd be demanding a trade this very instant, this very second. If he already hasn't, maybe there's just no news reports out there of it, but if I were Joe Flacco, I'd be demanding a trade, wanting to be traded somewhere else, but I don't really know who would want him, because he'd be wanting too much money to begin with, and his play really hasn't been that well in recent years, but still, he's won you guys a Super Bowl. But I know you guys got to look to the future. The Baltimore Ravens, that is. They take Lamar Jackson. Could be the next Michael Vick. They have been connected ever since Lamar Jackson came on at Louisville a couple years ago. During his Heisman season. But the Ravens took Lamar Jackson. I'm iffy about this pick, but we'll have to see if it works out. The second round then, as I said, I'm going to go through all 7 rounds here today and some undrafted free agents that signed with teams. The Giants took Will Hernandez, as I said, when I talked about Saquon Barkley. He'll be a plug-in guy, be able to contribute right away on the offensive line. The Browns then took a running back, Nick Chubb, out of Georgia, so both Georgia running backs are off the board, a couple picks apart. So the Browns get their next running back as they lost Isaiah Crowell to the Jets in free agency. The Buccaneers then took another running backs off the board. The Buccaneers took running back Ronald Jones III out of USC at number 38. They lost Doug Martin. They needed a running back with Jameis Winston. Their offense is another offense that's one of the best in the NFL, but due to a lot of lackluster performances last year, the Buccaneers, as I said, finished dead last in the NFC South, and the other 3 teams made the playoffs. They had a disappointing season. Hopefully they can turn that around this year and get back to the playoffs for the first time since 2008. The Bears then took center James Daniels out of Iowa at 39. The Broncos, as I said, took 2 wide receivers in this draft. Cortland Sutton was the first one out of SMU at number 40. They took Deshaun Hamilton on day 3, wide receiver out of Penn State. I believe it was in the 5th round, if I'm not mistaken. I have to look at my notes here. I'll bring him back up when I get to the 5th round. I'm going round by round. The Titans then took Harold Landry. Yes, his name is Harold Landry, Vince Young. You totally butchered his name when you announced the pick on Friday night. But Mike Vrabel played for the Patriots. Harold Landry played at Boston College, the Boston connection. So the Titans go 2 linebackers in the first 2 rounds, and take Rashawn Evans in the first round and traded up to get him, and now Harold Landry at 41. The Dolphins then took tight end Mike Gesicki out of Penn State at number 42. The Lions took Kerryon Johnson, running back out of Auburn, so the Lions go center and running back, trying to help out Matthew Stafford a little bit. The Packers, as I said, took Josh Jackson. They helped out their secondary with Josh Jackson, and Jair Alexander took Jackson at number 45 out of Iowa. The 47th overall pick was the Arizona Cardinals. They took wide receiver Christian Kirk out of Texas A&M. He'll come in, try to learn as much as he can from Larry Fitzgerald. and potentially could be the next #1 wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals. So the Cardinals go offense in their first 2 picks, go quarterback and wide receiver. Maybe Josh Rosen and Christian Kirk's going to be that next connection we'll be seeing for years to come in the NFL. The 49th overall pick was the Philadelphia Eagles. They took tight end Dallas Goedert. Yes, his first name is Dallas. Tight end out of South Dakota State. The Eagles, they were looking for a tight end. They actually traded up to 49, 1 spot in front of the Dallas Cowboys at 50 to draft Dallas Goedert because the Cowboys will be looking for a tight end now. Antonio Gates is on the market because the Chargers are not going to bring him back for next season. Jason Witten shocked everybody, I think, on Friday, said he's going to retire and join ESPN and Monday Night Football, be the one of the analysts for Monday Night Football. So the Eagles move ahead and get a tight end that the Dallas Cowboys probably would have selected. But then the Cowboys selected Connor Williams, tackle out of Texas at number 50, a hometown kid from the Dallas area, played his college ball down the road at Austin, Texas. But they took Connor Williams out at 50. The Bears then took wide receiver Anthony Miller out of Memphis. We'll have to see how that works out. They signed Allen Robinson in free agency. Matt Nagy's coming over from Kansas City to become the new Bears head coach. First time head coach for him. There's a couple first-time head coaches this upcoming year in the NFL. But the Bears took Anthony Miller, wide receiver, out of Memphis at number 51. I'll skip ahead to 59 now. The Washington Redskins took a running back in Darius Geis at LSU, who had first-round potential, but he slid to the end of the second round. I'm iffy about this. His off-the-field problems have been bad. I'll say that, and probably one of the main reasons why he fell in this year's draft. Reportedly, his pre-draft interview with the Philadelphia Eagles was the worst pre-draft interview the Eagles have ever had with all the prospects that they've interviewed. So, what's that saying? So the Redskins, though, another team from the NFC East, potentially could get back at the Eagles, run over their defense every time they play, twice a year. But the Redskins took Darius Geis at 59. The Steelers then took wide receiver James Washington out of Oklahoma State. They go Oklahoma State in back-to-back picks in the second and third round. Took James Washington first, and then took quarterback Mason Rudolph. So we'll still have that Mason Rudolph, James Washington connection in Pittsburgh, as we saw in Stillwater. The Steelers, they took a wide receiver in the second round because they traded Martavis Bryant during round 1 of the draft to the Oakland Raiders. And I was shocked that they traded him to the Raiders. I wasn't shocked that they traded him. I was shocked they traded him to the Raiders because the Raiders already have Amari Cooper at wide receiver. They already have Jordy Nelson at wide receiver. Now they have Martavis Bryant wide receiver to go along with Derek Carr at quarterback and Marshawn Lynch at running back. And then they take Colton Miller in the first round out of UCLA to protect all those guys. The Raiders, I think right now, the Giants, as I said, I think they'd be winning the NFC East. I think the Raiders will be winning the AFC West this year. Next pick I want to go over here is at number 66. The Giants took Lorenzo Carter, linebacker, out of Georgia. So they help out their defense a little bit. Justin Reed then goes to Houston at 68. He's a safety out of Stanford, the brother of Eric Reed, who just filed a grievance with the NFL recently because he went unsigned during free agency because of his protests during the national anthem the past couple years. But Justin Reed goes 68 to Houston. The 71st overall pick was Royce Freeman to the Denver Broncos. So the Broncos, they went Bradley Chubb on defense, and then they went 2 wide receivers and a running back, Royce Freeman being the running back out of Oregon. The Steelers, as I said, took Mason Rudolph at number 76 out of Oklahoma State to potentially be the heir apparent to Ben Roethlisberger in the coming years. But Ben Roethlisberger has stated he wants to play another 3 to 5 years, but we'll have to see. The Cincinnati Bengals, as I said, took Sam Hubbard at 77 out of Ohio State. As they took Billy Price, center, out of Ohio State in the first round. The Bengals had back-to-back picks at 77 and 78. They took Malik Jefferson at 78, linebacker out of Texas. 81 was the Cowboys' pick. They took Michael Gallup, wide receiver, out of Colorado State, as I said, to potentially come in and take Des Bryant's spot. The Ravens took Orlando Brown, son of the late, great Zeus Brown, who also played with the Baltimore Ravens. So, I think it's special, especially for Orlando, but the Brown family in particular, that Zeus's son will be playing tackle also for the Baltimore Ravens in the NFL. The Ravens then took Mark Andrews at number 86, tight end out of Oklahoma. So Orlando Brown, son of Zeus, goes back to Baltimore. They go Lamar Jackson in the first round, get potentially their next quarterback, even though I'm in the middle of it. The Pittsburgh Steelers, in the AFC North as well, they go back-to-back with 2 Oklahoma State players, James Washington and Mason Rudolph. Now the Baltimore Ravens at 83 and 86 go back-to-back with 2 former Oklahoma players. So I thought that was pretty interesting. The rivalry between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, one of the best rivalries in college football, will be transitioning now to the NFL with these 4 players. The next pick then is at number 97. The Cardinals took center Mason Cole, so they're helping out the offense again. Josh Rosen, Christian Kirk, and now Mason Cole, center out of Michigan. The Colts took, and I'll start the 4th round now. The Colts took Haheem Hines, pronounce that right. Number 104 running back at NC State, so they got him as well, along with Marlon Mack. He was the other running back I'm trying to think of that the Colts have. He is the one. Andrew Luck can stay healthy. Defense can stop Deshaun Watson and Marcus Mariota in the AFC South. I think the Colts could get back to, a playoff caliber team, but, it might be a couple years. Josie Jewell then went from Iowa to Denver, got drafted by the Denver Broncos at 106. He'll be helping out their linebacking core in Denver. The Giants then at 108 took Kyle Luletta out of Richmond. So Luletta was a 4th round pick, not a 3rd round pick. Troy Apke, safety out of Penn State, went 109 to the Washington Redskins. 111 was Brian Allen to the Los Angeles Rams. Center out of Michigan State. Michigan State has had at least 1 player drafted in the NFL draft since the draft merger back in 1970. The Cincinnati Bengals then took Mark Walton, running back out of the U, Miami University. The Broncos then picked again at 113. They took Deshaun Hamilton out of Penn State. So Cortland Sutton and Deshaun Hamilton now look to be the next 2 good wide receivers for the Broncos, even though the Broncos have Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. Maybe this is a sign that both of those guys are going to be on their way out, but we'll have to let it all play out. The Lions then took Deshaun Hand, a former number 1 overall recruit a couple years ago. He chose to go to Alabama, and now he's going to be going to the Detroit Lions to help out their defensive line. 119 was Kaiser White, safety out of West Virginia. He goes to the Los Angeles Chargers. His brother is Kevin White, who was a former 1st round pick to the Chicago Bears, also out of West Virginia. And then his other brother as well, Karan White, he signed an undrafted free agent deal. So all three brothers are currently playing in the National Football League. Maybe the White brothers, even though they are African American, not being racist by any means. Maybe they are the next Gronkowski family. Maybe one of those 3 will turn into a superstar. As we saw with the Gronk brothers, there's 4 of them. They're all playing in the NFL at the same time. And Rob ended up being the better one of the 4. We've seen what Kevin White has done. Really hasn't done a whole lot. He's been injured though, so there's still a lot of potential with him, even though they signed Allen Robinson and then drafted a wide receiver in this year's draft, in Anthony Miller out of Memphis. We'll have to see. Speaking of Rob Gronkowski, before I forget as well, he was drafted at number 42 overall back in 2010 out of Arizona. This year's 42nd overall pick was Mike Gesicki, a tight end out of Penn State, as I said. So maybe Mike Gesicki is the next Rob Gronkowski. I highly doubt it, but we'll have to see. He did have a lot of trouble catching the ball his freshman season here at Penn State back in 2015. But really came on strong the past 2 years, helped Penn State offense a lot. And Saquon Barkley, he was one of the main contributors, but Gesicki, his blocking is iffy. He'll have to learn how to block, obviously, in the NFL, but he could potentially, as I said, highly doubt it, could potentially be the next Rob Gronkowski. And he goes to a AFC East rival of the New England Patriots, the Miami Dolphins, as I said, at number 42 overall. I'll move on here. Where do I want to go next? 141 in the 5th round. The 141st overall pick was Shaquem Griffith. If I can talk, I've been talking a lot. Linebacker out of UCF, Central Florida. He will be joining his twin brother, Shaquem, this is Shaquem. Shaquille is his brother. In Seattle. The story with Shaquem, he only has one hand, yet he still plays football. So if you're saying, well, I can't do this or I can't do that, look at this guy. He's playing football, played college football at a high level with one hand, and now he just got drafted into the NFL. So anything's possible, folks. 148 was the Pittsburgh Steelers pick. They selected Marcus Allen. No, not the Marcus Allen that played for the Oakland Raiders back in the day. Different Marcus Allen, plays college ball here, just down the road at Penn State. He'll be helping out, hopefully he'll be helping out the Pittsburgh Steelers secondary for years to come. The Denver Broncos, took Troy Fumagalli, tight end out of Wisconsin, at number 156. So the Broncos, they went Bradley Chubb, got the best defensive player in the draft. In the first round, took Josie Jewell as well, linebacker out of Iowa, but then they've gone offense. 2 wide receivers, a running back, and now a tight end who only has 4 fingers on his one hand. Does not have a pointer finger. And yet he still can play at a high level. So I think that was a great pick by the Denver Broncos. I think the Broncos drafted best in the AFC. I'd say the New York Football Giants drafted best in the NFC. The Cincinnati Bengals drafted Andrew Brown, defensive end out of Virginia, at number 158. Another highly recruited guy coming out of Chesapeake, Virginia, a couple years ago chose to stay in state, go to Virginia, become a Cavalier. Now he will be becoming a Cincinnati Bengal. The 163rd pick, was the Washington Redskins, and they selected Tim Settle, another player from Virginia. He played his college ball, though, at Virginia Tech down the road in Blacksburg. He was another highly recruited college player a couple years ago. Then at number 167, the 167th pick, the Minnesota Vikings took the first kicker in this year's draft. They took Daniel Carlson, kicker out of Auburn, who is probably one of the tallest kickers in NFL history. Let me get something to drink. Lose my voice. The next pick then was 187 or 182. The Cardinals took Christian Campbell, cornerback out of Penn State. 187, I said a moment ago, belonged to the Buffalo Bills. They took Ray McLeod, wide receiver out of Clemson, who has helped Clemson a lot and will be a huge loss for the Clemson Tigers this upcoming season. 193, the Dallas Cowboys selected Chris Covington, linebacker out of Indiana. A lot of Big Ten and SEC guys and ACC guys this year getting drafted into the NFL. And a lot, obviously, signing undrafted free agent deals, because whoever doesn't get drafted, and if you don't get drafted late in the 7th round, you have your choice then to, and I think that is a better opportunity. You have the option to whatever team you want to sign with, if they obviously want you. But in the 5th round here, or no, the 6th round, excuse me, at 193, the Cowboys took Chris Covington, linebacker of Indiana. The Chiefs then took Khalil McKenzie at 198, offensive lineman out of Tennessee. He is the son of Raiders general manager Reggie McKenzie. So he's staying in the division, but the Chiefs take a son of a division rival. At 199, which was the spot Tom Brady was selected at back in 2000 out of Michigan to the New England Patriots. Well, this year, another quarterback went 199, not to the New England Patriots though, and not from Michigan. The 199th pick was Luke Falk to the Tennessee Titans out of Washington State. So he'll come in, back up Marcus Mariota, probably just going to be a backup for the time being. Who knows though? Could he turn into the next Tom Brady? Could that 199 spot, every 18 years be, the pick where future Hall of Famers are made? We'll have to see. But the Tennessee Titans took Luke Falk at 199, quarterback out of Washington State. 203 then, another quarterback, Tanner Lee, went to Jacksonville. He'll go down to Jacksonville from Lincoln, Nebraska to back up Blake Bortles. 219 then, another quarterback, speaking of quarterbacks and the New England Patriots, Danny Etling was selected by the Patriots out of LSU, played his college ball at Purdue. I believe I saw him play in 2011 when he was at Purdue. He has gone through a lot of injuries. He has played college football, seems like forever. But the Patriots selected him with the first pick of the 7th round at 219 out of LSU. He then transferred to LSU after losing his job at Purdue. But, could he come in and potentially be the heir apparent to Tom Brady? I doubt it, but we'll have to see. 236 then belonged to the Dallas Cowboys. They got a great backup, a great, terrific backup for Ezekiel Elliott. They selected Bo Scarborough, running back out of Alabama. So you got two big bruisers in the backfield now in Dallas, going up against Philly, the Giants, and the Washington Redskins. I believe the Eagles signed. I'm sure they signed some running backs. I don't think they, because I'm not going through every pick. I can't remember. If the Eagles drafted a running back, I don't think they did. They do have a shitload of them though on the roster. But 3 of the 4 NFC East teams selected running backs in this year's draft. The Giants took Saquon at number 2, Saquon Barkley that is. The Washington Redskins took Darius Geis at number 59. And now the Dallas Cowboys took Bo Scarborough at number 236 out of Alabama. We'll stick with running backs and quarterbacks here, and then get into the undrafted free agents, and then I'll wrap it up. Number 249 was the Cincinnati Bengals pick. They took a quarterback from in-state school Toledo and took Logan Woodside. 251 then, Justin Jackson, running back out of Northwestern, went to the Los Angeles Chargers. And now on to some undrafted free agents that signed deals. Now, one of these, JT Barrett, quarterback of Ohio State, some of these reports of players signing with whatever team after the draft might not be true, because with JT Barrett, it was reported that he had signed with the Indianapolis Colts. He did not. He then ended up signing with the New Orleans Saints. So JT Barrett is going down to New Orleans to potentially back up Drew Brees. We'll have to see if he makes the 53-man roster. Kyle Allen, a former Texas A&M Aggie, then transferred to Houston. He goes to Carolina to potentially back up Cam Newton. KJ Malone, son of the Hall of Famer, the great Hall of Famer in the NBA, Karl Malone. KJ Malone, his son, from I believe plays college ball at Houston, goes to the Houston Texans. Nick Shimanek, quarterback from Texas Tech, goes to Los Angeles to potentially back up Phillip Rivers. So as I said earlier, the Giants and Steelers signed they drafted quarterbacks, and then the Chargers signed a quarterback. So I guess all three teams from the 04 draft to draft the quarterbacks, and Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, and Ben Roethlisberger did get quarterbacks during this year's draft period. Jason Cabinda, linebacker from Penn State, went to the Oakland Raiders. He'll have a chance to team up with a former Nittany Lion and Navarro Bowman alongside Khalil Mack and Bruce Irvin. Josh Adams went to Philly. John Franklin III, if you have Netflix, I'm sure you've watched Last Chance U, former Last Chance U player, former quarterback. He then transferred to Florida Atlantic. He signed with the Seattle Seahawks. Akram Wadley then is the last player I'm going to talk about. He did not get drafted. He then signed with the Tennessee Titans, former running back out of Iowa, a great running back out of Iowa. So that's what happened during the 2018 NFL Draft. If you did not watch the draft, thank you for watching this video, for getting all the news that happened during the draft. As I said, this will probably be my last football video until the football season starts, until I give my preview. But I could change my mind within the next couple of months. But links for all social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, are in the description below. Periscope is also down there, as you'll get to see me on Periscope. I'll be live on Periscope. It's not Periscope Live. It's not called Facebook Live, folks. But I'll be on there. At this time, I'm planning on being on there on Sunday for WWE Backlash. Go check out my WWE Backlash predictions, along with I tried to make it as short as I could. I know I rambled on about the Greatest Royal Rumble. I recapped that. So go check those out. Go check out the website as well. As I said, I put a lot of time and hard effort into that. Links for everything are in the description below. So just scroll down, click on the link, give us some likes, give us some follows, and be sure to subscribe right here on YouTube. So I guess the 2017 to 18 season is officially over. We're officially on the road to the 2018 college and NFL football seasons, and I will see everybody in August when I give my 2018 college and NFL previews.